Air transport is one of the crucial assets that a country must have. It is an important enabler to achieving economic growth and development, which provides vital connectivity on a national, regional, and international scale. But what will happen if the flag carrier fails to fulfill its duty? To our dearest panelists, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, and to my co-researcher for this year's Philippine Aviation Research Conference, a pleasant day to all of you. I am Rovie Erjas from the Philippine State College of Aeronautics, and I am privileged to present to you our historical research paper entitled PAL Privatization, an aftermath of a catastrophic management and inefficiency from 1980 to 1999. In the Philippine context, air travel was a heavily controlled industry both locally and internationally. The Philippine Airlines underwent significant financial restructuring in the late 1991, with a 21 million US dollar debt assumption in exchange for an 80% stake in the corporation. In 1992, the Philippine government privatized PAL, reverting Asia's oldest flag carrier to the Philippine private sector. By investigating the grounds and reasons for the privatization of the Philippine Airlines, the key points are limited to the Philippine economy, management, services, and financial status of the Philippine Airlines. This paper sought to answer why the Philippine government privatized Philippine Airlines, how the decline of the Philippine economy led to its privatization. In addition, how the airline's management, services, and financial status contribute to the privatization of the company. That is the backbone of our study. That is what the researchers are looking for. From the study, the following are identified. First, PAL effectively monopolized the country's air transportation market in December 1973, forcing other two airlines, namely Philippine Orient Airline and Air Manila, to close and be absorbed. This fundamental change in airline policy occurred during the period of martial law. The Philippine economy had faced crisis under the Marcos administration. Despite the protected status through one airline policy, the airline experienced heavy losses and created so much inefficiency that the airline was unconscious to keep its service to certain standard. In 1988, President Aquino granted approval for the sale of 86 state-owned enterprises as part of the administration economic reform program that aimed to reduce the government's involvement in the economy and to encourage greater private sector investment. Lastly, under the Ramos administration, the Executive Order No. 219 was passed, which adheres to the policy of allowing a healthy competition among airlines in the country and prohibiting monopolies. Next, the researchers for historical study utilizes sources from newspaper, news article, documents, books, and journal articles. The Philippine economy was predominantly agriculture before the EDSA revolution in 1986, with a weak manufacturing sector and severe rates of poverty. Despite having abundant natural resources and a sizable labor base, the Philippines found it difficult to compete with other nations in the area and did not reach its full economic potential. By 1984, losses in the government-owned financial institution had become a significant drain on fiscal resources, making it more difficult to restore external balance and support the nation's recovery. Losses in financial institutions, as well as competition with other countries in terms of manufactured products, did not let the Philippine economy reach its full potential. Other governments corporations, despite their negative income, including the Philippine Airlines, still needs to be funded by the government, which further drained the fiscal resources of the country and contribute to the decline in the Philippine economy. Following the 1986 EDSA revolution, the Philippine economy saw a great significant improvement, with growth observed in major sectors like services, manufacturing, and tourism, along with an uptick in foreign investment. The Philippine Airlines management under one airline policy. Under the administration of Soriano, the PAL had sufficient aircraft to operate its scheduled domestic flights and expanded its service. Ferdinand Marcos Sr. passed the Letter of Instruction number 151 and 151A stating the policy to rationalize the airline industry and establish a one-airline policy in both the international and domestic operation. Under the LOI, the CAB and the CAA shall suspend the operation of Air Manila International and the Filipinas Orient Airline, leaving PAL as the only carrier operating domestically and internationally and became the Philippine flag carrier. However, LOIs revoke the Civil Aeronautic Acts of the Philippines or Republic Act 776 under Section 4, letter E, which states that competition between air carriers is necessary to assure the sound development of an air transportation system properly. During those times, Philippine Airlines is the sole air carrier in the Philippines, which give no choice of the people to choose the carrier they want. Due to the monopoly's severe inefficiency and the service quality failed to hardly meet the amount of demand, in other words, despite knowing that its customers had no other alternatives, the airline did not make an effort to maintain particular standards of service in order to retain and even attract more passengers. Thus, having no competition in the industry led to mismanagement and inefficiency of the company to provide service, which led to PAL flight problems and delays more frequent than it seems. Despite PAL being protected by one airline policy, the company suffered severe losses. Over the years of poor service, PAL has been derided by critics as plain always late for its frequent flight delays, mainly due to one airline policy. Thus, lawmakers have proposed ending its domestic monopoly and allowing new firms to enter the local air community market. In 1987, after the Marcos administration, the Philippine Airlines has still the unique situation of being the only scheduled airline in the country. However, PAL failed to make money like a monopoly should over the years. And in spite of that, PAL is being charged taxes on fuel used for domestic operation, which increases fuel costs to 37% of the domestic revenues. Accordingly, PAL is not given any domestic fare increase since 1979. Thus, the company had to draw on its resources to meet the cost increases primarily in the operation and maintenance of aircraft and facilities expansion. In 1991, the decision of privatizing the company airline has been stressed by the President of the Philippines and the privatization of the entity pushed through by 1992. The EO 219 signaled the entry of new airline in the industry. The reforms in the domestic air transport made possible the new entry of new 5 players in the industry, namely Cebu Pacific Air, Air Philippines, Asian Spirit, Mindanao Express, and Grand International Airways. This resulted to unprecedented competition. However, PAL suffered a significant decline in market shares as the new airlines slowly inched their way in the industry. Philippine Airlines services for the Filipino. We can see that they are trying to modernize its fleets. However, due to falling economy, they failed to sustain domestic services operations. The Philippine Airline financial management and status. We can see that the net loss is large compared to its profit, which resulted to the negative net worth of the Philippine Airlines, which challenged its financial management and status. For the findings, the Philippine economy. Due to the decline of the Philippine economy, the PAL struggles to maintain its finance because of the falling economy contributed to the challenges. For instance, losses in the government-owned financial institution had become a significant drain on the fiscal resources, making it more difficult to restore external balance and support the nation's recovery. The absence of government measures to avert the impact of PAL's situation is shown as they chose to privatize it due to the severe state of the company. The absence of competition results to poor performance and growth. This could be seen in the inability of PAL to manage and utilize all the entitlements in the country during its monopolized era, which resulted to indebtedness and financial losses that had eroded the morale of PAL personnel that affects the deterioration in the quality of service. The financial and labor problems of PAL severely affected the industry's seat capacity due to its brutal monopoly caused by the one airline policy. In conclusion, The Philippine economy contributes to the Philippine Airlines net worth that led to the challenges in its finance. The one airline policy is the root of having no competition in the industry. Thus, having no competition will lead to inefficiency and mismanagement, and this urged the airline to modernize its fleets. However, due to the economic constraints and low airfare, the company lost funds while improving its services. It was a clear waste of resources that could have been used productively elsewhere in the economy. The Philippine government privatized the company as one of the steps in economic reform where company contributed to its falling economy. Once again, I am Rovie Erjas together with my co-presenter Mr. Efren Ramirez and Mr. Jairo Osorio from the Philippine State College of Aeronautics. Thank you.